Look, it's not perfect. It's not perfect, but it's like a percentage of the way there. Okay. That was ugly. Hello, my name is Sarah. I'm a small artist and I'm definitely not wearing a wig right now. This is Justice for Artists. Now, I know this video is going to be a little bit different than my other ones and you're going to be like, how does this fit the theme of Justice for Artists? But the thing is, actors are artists too. So if I want to share a little bit of tea about some actors or actresses, but they're artists, okay? Okay? Wait, I forgot something during the comparison. I don't have a denim jacket, but I guess I should take these off now. I put on red eyeliner, so I should take them off. Amanda Bynes is best known for The Amanda Show. She was 13 when Dan Schneider found her. She already had a little bit of acting experience. Others on set realized that there was a lot of time where Amanda and Dan Schneider were missing. There's a show, I know it's on Amazon Prime and I think it's on Hulu, but it's called Quiet on Set and it talks about what happens behind the scenes. And there's like, I think it's a whole season about Dan Schneider and just, he is such a terrible person. But Amanda was a huge victim of that. And she hasn't spoken out about it, but like all of her cast members have. Which, I mean, she's already a little bit, doesn't have the greatest image right now. And there's the whole sort of almost Stockholm Syndrome complex. Dan was also very sexist and liked making dirty jokes with children on TV. One of the female writers on The Amanda Show said it was the worst career experience of their entire life working on that writing team. There were 2 female writers. One asked for 2 days off and then ended up getting fired because of that. And the second one felt so uncomfortable and unsafe being the only woman on the writing team. She ended up feeling humiliated in several situations. The men on that team thought it was really funny, or at least Dan did. But she quit because she felt so unsafe. It was her dream job and she was, you know, really happy to get it, and Dan knew that and took advantage of that. And those 2 women split a salary. Everybody else got their full salary, but those 2 women had to 50-50 their salary. So Dan is taking advantage of the fact that they are barely getting by and they really want this job and they really want this experience on their resume. He's manipulating that, taking advantage of that, controlling that, you know, all those thesaurus results. But Amanda's a favorite. And there's a video where Dan tells Amanda to put on a bikini and they get in a hot tub together. And Dan is fully clothed, but Amanda's in a bikini. And she agrees to do this because she's trying to ask for a raise. So she's playing the game back a little bit here. Well, I mean, she's taking the shitty situation and twisting it to her advantage to the best of her abilities. The best you can. And just Amanda ended up with such a terrible body image complex. There was one character that worked for Dan Schneider, and I believe they were on the cast of all that, and they were told to start watching what they eat because there was already the fat one on the show and she couldn't become the new fat one, or there couldn't be 2. So that's just an example of Dan Schneider kind of ruining a body image. That wasn't Amanda, but I mean, it's reasonable to expect that that would have been kind of the same behavior that happened with Amanda. And Dan makes jokes at other people's expenses, but if anybody does that to him, it's like, we're talking in my office right now. And he's just so mean, rude, sexist, racist. I mean, he's got a nice resume there. Possibly a pedophile? I say possibly. There are a lot of allegations that really support that claim, that allegation. But basically, if Dan doesn't like you, you're out. He's got enough new people to manipulate. He can find them pretty easily. The man straight up says women aren't funny after hiring 2 women on the writing team. What are you? Anyways, it gets to a point where Amanda gets a new boyfriend. And he's a little bit older and her parents do not approve of him at all. And she gets really upset by this. She's really emotional and she runs away. So who does she go to? She goes to Dan. And Dan tries to convince her to emancipate from her parents. It's essentially like divorcing your parents. Like you're not a dependent under them anymore. Dan wants Amanda to do this so that he can trick this young girl into overworking. And he has a record of completely ignoring child labor laws. You're there and you're working all the time. And you're working harder than he is, or else you're fired. Allegedly. Oh my god, I completely forgot to mention that Dan Schneider, touched her. Now I'm gonna jump into a timeline. Anyways, after her incredibly traumatic childhood, her last major appearance in film was in 2010 on Easy A. She falls to substance abuse and is developing a really bad mental illness. Well, multiple. My camera died. I really need to be better about charging it. Where were we? Amanda says that she no longer has any love or passion for the craft of acting, which is why she stops, amongst other things. In 2012 alone, she gets charged for a DUI, 2 hit and runs, and driving with a suspended license. In 2013, she was involuntarily admitted to a psychiatric hospital after starting a fire in a neighbor's driveway. She's charged for reckless endangerment and marijuana possession. She is also found at one point sprinting naked down a street in LA, and she starts a lot of Twitter beef with other celebrities. In 2014, Amanda publicly uses Twitter to accuse her father of sexual, verbal, emotional, and physical abuse. She later claims that this was a completely false statement. She says, "A microchip implanted in my brain made me say it." She announces that she's bipolar and struggles with manic depression. In 2019, she gets her associate's degree from the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. In 2021, her lawyer says that she's doing well. 2022, the conservatorship between herself and her parents finally ends. She talked about her dreams of fashion when she was little.
I didn't know that you pursue this?
Well, I want to be a fashion designer. I love to draw.
And pursued that school route, but then instead started pursuing being a podcast host and is now striving to be a nail tech. Trends and connections that I've made regarding mental health in comparison to Amanda's public actions, alleged actions. Well, also there are videos of it online, but I guess those could be fake also. I don't know. I was a former psychology major and I have a lot of experience in the hospital environment. So she announced that she was bipolar and struggles with depression. In another interview, she talks about struggling with anxiety as well, plus the component of substance abuse. NHS.UK, I tried to find what NHS stands for and it just isn't on their website. But NHS.UK provides some examples of what might be indicators of bipolar. So it's characterized by 2 different kind of swings that are polar opposites with not much of a middle in between. There's depression and there's mania. Just glazing over a few of these examples, here are some symptoms of depression. Difficulty concentrating or remembering things. Loss of interest in everyday activities. Amanda says that she no longer has any love or passion for the craft of acting. Feelings of guilt and despair. Being delusional, having hallucinations, and disturbed or illogical thinking.
After she was found roaming the streets naked and alone in LA. She waved down a car, telling the driver she was coming down for my psychotic episode, then called 911 herself.
In 2013, she was involuntarily admitted to a psychiatric hospital after starting a fire in a neighbor's driveway. Mania is partially characterized by feeling full of great new ideas and having big plans. She talked about her dreams of fashion when she was little and pursued that school route, but then instead started pursuing being a podcast host and is now striving to be a nail tech. Being delusional, having hallucinations, disturbed or illogical thinking, again. Doing things that often have disastrous consequences. She gets charged for a DUI, 2 hit and runs, and driving with a suspended license. She's charged for reckless endangerment and marijuana possession. She is also found at one point sprinting naked down a street in LA, making decisions or saying things that are out of character. Others might see this as being risky or harmful. Uses Twitter to accuse her father of sexual, verbal, emotional, and physical abuse. She later claims that this was a completely false statement. She says, "A microchip implanted in my brain made me say it." Her substance abuse disorder comes from craving sedation of some of the symptoms of mental illness. Having been the victim of physical, verbal, emotional, and even sexual abuse, repellence to own body, unreasonable standards for self, and using marijuana as a gateway drug. That's to say, it's commonly people's first intoxicant that they try, and then could lead them to crave more forms of artificial happiness to drown out the trauma around them. It can feel like sobriety is choosing pain over joy. The body becomes used to these chemicals and depends on them. It becomes a third craving alongside food and water, and can have horrible physical symptoms if abruptly stopped. So that's the definition of substance abuse disorder, which commonly stems from mental illness and a need for dissociation and instant relief. Those cursed traits tend to make the host less concerned about the possibility of an overdose. Amanda has brash repercussions and goes to both rehab and psychiatric hospitals in involvement with these cases. And that brings us up to today. She has a new appearance.
I was never open about this before, but I actually had blepharoplasty surgery on the skin folds in the corners of my eyes. So I don't have those skin folds anymore. It was one of the best things I could have ever done for my self-confidence.
So hopefully that continues. I hope for the best for her, because that's a lot to deal with. Okay, bye.